Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Howdy y'all, Randall Laughlin here. We're starting the show today, Houston, Texas. My guest is from Canada, and so again, international aspect of global USA Global TV. I host 3 TV shows every Thursday. This is the first one. It's called the Corner Bookstore. And I have one called The Wise Ones, and my final one is called Talking Heads. And my topic today is the real driver of aging, damage versus repair. And that, of course, is about 2 hours from now. But when I'm not writing, I research the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking. I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem. Treat symptoms, and you'll always be treating symptoms. I specialize in age-related diseases, longevity, just health in general. But those are the focuses. Anything dealing with aging. My books are available at my website and everything else. We cover that down the road. But anyway, let's go ahead and just jump right in and get to our guest today, Canadian author Lynda Williams. Please join me up here on stage.
Hi, Red. How are you doing?
Exceptionally well, as always. And you?
I'm doing very well, too. Thank you. It's great to be with you.
I appreciate it greatly, too. You've been a Canadian writer for how long? You've been a writer for so long. Canadian's not a part of it, although I detected a little bit in a boot. I think you knew one of the words we did backstage. So you confirmed me that, yeah, you're from that part of the country up there. But anyway, so how long you've been a writer?
Well, you know, I'm celebrating 30 years. My first byline was in 1996. And yes, I was quite young at the time. But it took a long time to get a book in the world. It felt like I was an emerging writer forever.
Well, you know, that's not unusual. I mean, I think most of the people, we end up developing a skill at writing, but then, oh, you can write a book. No, I can't. Oh, you can write a book. You got, no, I can't. It's too hard. You know, we rationalize all the reasons why we can't write a book. And then all of a sudden, you know, it kind of grows back there. Yeah, maybe let me try it and see. And so when did you write your first book?
So I started writing the stories in the collection around 2008, and I was really gung-ho about putting a collection together at the time. And I got so many rejections from literary journals that I started to lose faith in my ability as a writer. Publication had come to me quite easily at first, and then not so easily for a long stretch. So I actually walked away from fiction for about a period of 7 years. And it was along about 2021 at the early stages of the pandemic when I took the project up again and got serious about getting a book into the world.
So the pandemic caused you to become an author?
Pretty much. I was scrolling through social media way too much, and I was noticing people were using their time to write and realize this dream of getting published, and it made me jealous in the very best way possible.
Interesting. I think there's a lot of things going on to transition from being in-person events to being on camera events, and then what do you do with your extra time because you're not commuting anywhere? Yeah, there's a lot of things going on back then. Your first book, how long did it actually take you to write?
So I spent 18 months revising the older stories and then writing maybe 7 or 8 new ones to round out the collection.
Okay, so you have over half a dozen books that you've written so far.
No, this is my first collection. I have a fellow Canadian author who shares my name and the spelling of it, who is actually quite prolific in science fiction. So yes, this is my first collection of short stories and my first book overall.
Okay, well, I'm amazed. I'm going to congratulate you right now because I was doing some research on you before we joined. And for a first-time writer to get the number of awards and recognition and honorable mentions and everything else, that's I'm just going to say, well done for your first collection.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so you started writing this collection of short stories, fiction and stuff. Tell us a little bit about your editing process.
Yeah, revision is my favorite part. First drafts for me, especially in short fiction, are quite painful. It's just, yeah, sticking it out, button chair to get the words down so I can have something to work with, to shape and mold, and seeing my visions start to come together is my favorite part. Because when I look at a first draft, it's so far from the vision I had in my head that I do despair a little that I might ever reach what I was hoping to go for at the outset. But there is a point in revising and polishing where you get a glimmer of that original vision. And yeah, it just re-sparks your enthusiasm for the project. And it it re-inspires my faith in the whole writing process.
What time frame and location are your books written in?
So all of the stories are set pre-pandemic, and I did that very much on purpose because in 2021 I hadn't really begun to process everything that was happening. And in general, I'm not very quick at processing major things anyway. So I decided my characters would not be dealing with any of this till I figured out how a person dealt with it. But then because some of the stories had been written back in 2008, it just felt very organic to have them set in the near past. And then in terms of location where they're set, I did want them to be Canadian locations. And mostly what I left for my readers, I would call Easter eggs, so that you might recognize a location based on street names and small details. But the story itself, you could picture anywhere. You know, it wouldn't matter if you're reading from the Pacific Northwest or somewhere in the southern states. You could still picture this in your hometown, right?
Okay, so a little bit easier than mid 1800s London or someplace like that. So that at least that makes things easier because you're familiar with it. But what about your characters? How do you choose your characters and how do you develop them?
You know, I really think they choose me. Um, Character development usually starts with interiority for me. And most often, stories come to me in the form of a line. And that line is me meeting a character's voice. And I let them talk. Yeah, not all of those words will make it into a story, but it's very much the character telling me what I need to know about them in order to tell their story. And that's definitely my favorite part of writing a first draft. And I do rely entirely on voice. My stories are something I hear before I perceive them. Really, when it comes down to things like what my characters are doing with their hands or the expression on their face when they're talking, that's all stuff I have to go back and write in after I understand who the character is and what the plot will be organically to them.
Do you have any particular TV shows or books that you can pick up some hints about these? You mentioned it, as a speaker, public speaker, one of the hardest, you can do body language all over the place, but one of the hardest things for a speaker I found in observing lots of and evaluating them over the years is their passion showing in their face as they're speaking. They can do the body language, but the face just doesn't have that accompanying alignment with the rest of their body. So when you can get your facial expressions down as you're speaking, that's a mark of a very highly successful speaker. So you picked that up already just in your characters, and I realize that you're trying to build a picture of them for your reader. And so when they have that little tick in the eye or that little grin or that drool or whatever it may happen to be, you're trying to give the audience that our reader that extra little bit of connection to your work of love there.
Absolutely. And that word passion is so key because when we talk about things that we're passionate about, we do become more animated. We don't have to try. And there's an illumination that occurs that it's really hard to pin down, but it's important to create that for readers, right? It's because it is something that you connect with, as you said, and you can hold on to.
How do you get inside the male brain when you have characters?
Oh, yeah, that one frightens me the most. That's such a great question because there's only one story in the collection that's written from a man's point of view, and it's the only. No, there are two actually. It's one of two stories written from the third person. And I often choose that distance on purpose when I approach the male point of view because I don't feel as authoritative in it, right? Like women, and a particular kind of woman, I would say, a little bit edgy and complicated, is very much my wheelhouse. So entering the male psyche is always a bit of a daunting challenge for me, and I'm never sure I've carried it off authentically, but it's very much something that I look forward to doing in my next project. My current work in progress is a dual point of view novel, and yeah, I've got a dude in there, and he's given me the gears.
Okay, let's talk about the dude a minute because when you're talking about a female character, you can easily describe her clothes, whether it's chiffon or this or shoes, and accompaniment. I mean, that's how do you go into the same level of detail if the guy's wearing a certain kind of belt or whatever that's noticeable, or is it just it's the basic character? Thank you very much, ma'am. We're going to move on.
I don't dwell on clothes that much regardless, but I will say I like men's clothes a lot better than women's clothing. They are by and large more comfortable, and I'd rather spend time thinking about a worn-in flannel shirt and a ripped pair of jeans than a frilly dress. So actually, maybe one of my favorite things to describe is men's clothing. Yeah, I often reach to it for metaphors, and yeah, you guys you're luckier than you realize, Even when you walk into a store, you're not overwhelmed with the same level of options. I'm a little bit jealous.
Well, I've been losing my hair since my teens. I started shaving, probably 30 years ago, maybe more, over 30 years ago. And I see another guy who has a shaved head, and you guys were walking by, I'll say, great haircut. And they'll almost instantly, a smile appears in their face, and they turn and look, and they make some comment back. But that's something that I typically do because it's a commonality. It's 20 years ago, it wasn't that common. Yeah, there was a few, but now it's a fairly common thing. In fact, I'm even seeing women. I've probably seen here in the last year at least a half a dozen different women that just decide they're going to shave their head, and they do. And for whatever reasons, I have no idea. I don't ask. Uh, but it's a part of the psyche of the person. And if I had hair, I'd probably be a different person entirely. But this is the way I've been and look, and I have accepted it for decades. So
Yeah, I think I'd actually probably rather shave my head than go gray. Either I'm going to be dying from a box or I'm going to get the clippers.
well, that's always a personal choice, and you don't have to share that with anybody. In fact, you could be bald and be wearing a different wig every day, and nobody would notice if they're close enough that the style would change. Okay, maybe it's just a little shorter. So my wife went through some breast cancer chemotherapy, and we were fortunate to get, I think, 5 or 6 wigs. And so she had the opportunity there for a while to look pretty presentable, even though her underneath the wig was not something to talk about at all. But it gave her a sense of value because she didn't have to go out and wear a bandana or something. But anyway, that's always options there too, and especially if you have 3 or 4 of the same style, just slightly different. Maybe today I'm wavy, maybe tomorrow I'm curly. I don't know. Just it changes with the whim of the day.
I love it. My mother actually had breast cancer when she was 39.
And she survived it well.
She's 73 now, still
wow.
going strong. Yeah.
My wife was, I guess, just before 70 when she came down with it.
Okay.
Went through chemo and radiation and survived it well. In fact, a year after her clearance from her oncologist, we went over to Spain and we walked the Camino de Santiago, which is a 500-mile walk. We did it in 30 days. It was a pilgrimage.
That's lovely.
That was her Thanksgiving for her full recovery. And she's been fine every single test we go, every time she goes in, which is about every 6 months to a year, depending on which doctor she goes to. Everything looks good. So, but let's get back to you. When you're writing your books and you have the plot down there, you're going through everything. Do you send your chapters out to beta readers or anything like that, kind of like a pre-editor, or you just hold everything in advance until it's done and then you start soliciting opinions?
So I have one close writer friend. We kind of came out together with our first book and went through all the discovery process together. And that included acting as beta readers for each other. And I do find having feedback like that very important. And having a limited amount of feedback. Feedback from too many different avenues can make my head swivel. So having this one person that I really trust, who's very familiar with my work, helps me a lot. And honestly, she makes me see possibilities in my work that I didn't necessarily see for myself. So yeah, that's a beautiful thing to have. And I also have a writing group now, which provides feedback as well. And that's at an earlier stage. And I do think you have to be careful with how much feedback you take in when you aren't fully completed a first draft.
Yeah, it's our baby. We don't want people calling it ugly. So yeah, it's a personal thing, and it's something that we don't mind certain types of critique, but be gentle. It's one of those things. And even if it's 15th book, you still welcome critique because it may be in a slightly different perspective of what your writing is about. And you mentioned groups. We're coming up in about a minute or so on a station break, commercial break. And so when we come back, I'd like to go into that group thing you talked about. But do you use AI at all for anything in your writing?
I am the die-hard, I will not touch it person. And I mean, I know it's normalized. I know I am not going to change the tide. I get that. But for me, I think part of it is I'm a literary writer. I'm not making money at this anyway. I'm okay with taking all the time I need to get something done completely on my own.
Okay. I use AI all the time, but probably I'm going to say an average of an hour a day, but my writing is totally different. It's not a fiction. I don't have characters. I just go into organs and tissues and parts of the body that I need to know about. And sometimes I get good information and sometimes I don't. And sometimes I got to slap them upside the face and say, hey, don't protect me. Tell me what I need to know. And so we've had a couple of those really good serious meetings about, okay, fine, let's change and even though you have a good working relationship with AI, I found that you still have to be careful anyway. But we're at that point in time where we're going to take a quick break here, a minute or so. And we come back. Let's go ahead and talk about how writing groups can help an author, okay?
Excellent.
In a world craving connection, one platform dared to dream bigger. USA Global TV and Radio, a beacon for global voices, authentic storytelling, and elevated listening. Led by visionary Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the journey from a spark to a global force is now captured in one inspiring book. Honored with YouTube's Silver Creator Award for surpassing 100,000 subscribers. Discover the evolution, the challenges, the triumphs, and the unstoppable spirit that created a global movement. Executive producer Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, music score by Yeffy Tang, creative director Paul Garcia. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication, or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited. Now an Amazon #1 new release in paperback and ebook. Broadcasting Brilliance, the evolution of USA Global TV and Radio, is inspiring readers around the world. Join the movement that's redefining global media one story at a time.
Howdy, y'all. Red Laughlin here. We're on the Corner Bookstore. My guest today is Lynda Williams. Lynda, please join me back up here on stage. Okay, we talked just very briefly about before the break, about AI, and then we said we're going to continue into the writers groups. I mean, I've had several of them that I've been involved with, and I find them to be fascinating. You get to talk to other authors, you get presentations and stuff. Tell us about your experience with the author community and groups.
I don't know why I waited so long to seek them out. Earlier, I talked about how it felt that it took forever to emerge. And when I look back, I think, why did you think you had to cowboy it alone? Because I think writers groups can really accelerate your progress. Feedback is definitely a huge part of growing as a writer, and just reading other people's work and thinking about it critically in that way helps you grow in terms of your own revision. So there's a whole skill set you're practicing and offering to each other. But setting craft aside, writing is a bit of a tough row to hoe. It is lonely. There's a lot of rejection involved. So having people to cheer you on and having people to cheer for is so heartening. It really is what tides you over during the rough periods. And I find there's very much an ebb and flow to success. So, sometimes when things are going well, it comes in a wave, and that's lovely. And then you go through dry spells where nothing good is happening for you. But if there's something good happening for someone in your circle, at least you get to celebrate that, right?
Okay. Do you use Microsoft Word, or do you have another preferred app, or whatever you want to call it, program to do your writing in?
Yeah, I work on a Mac, so I use Pages, and then I export everything to Microsoft Word.
Okay. What kinds of problems have you found at all in there? And the reason I'm asking this question is sometimes we have a problem and you get with another author and they say, oh, this is the way I did that. I mean, I found that to be fascinating. So, let me try that. Do you have any breakthroughs that say, oh, I'm sure glad I came today. It was worth the cost of admission.
Absolutely. And, in terms of technology, not so much, but in terms of questions people ask me, I think that's my favorite part of feedback. I had mentioned that the work in progress I'm dealing with currently is a dual point of view novel, and that's not the way it started out. It started out as single point of view, first person, woman's perspective. And someone asked me if I was going to enter this guy's point of view, because he has a significant role. He's the main antagonist, and I thought, what, I don't think I can match her swagger, so I said no. And then I thought about my answer, and I had to have a little talk with myself, because what it really sounded like to me was you're afraid to do this badly. And that won't start in a first draft. The whole point of a first draft is to do something badly. So, yeah, I thought about it and I figured, it doesn't matter if I later take out this person's point of view. I will know his character that much better for having written it. And I'm actually enjoying his point of view more than hers right now.
Okay, I heard the words "take out this character." That always like eliminate him completely from the story. No, you're not with the mafia, so we don't have to worry about that right now. But maybe in the future. Or with pandemics, you never know what happens. So there's a lot of different subtle ways to handle that situation.
That's right.
My AI last night gave me 8 words. Let's choose one of these because we've been through about 4 iterations of my presentation for today, and because we were disagreeing, we were brainstorming, and then it's okay. That's the one, but that's not exactly what. And then all of a sudden, he had clarity based on what I was doing, and so the key thing you just said, I think, is profound. Sometimes you get asked questions that really and truly you don't know the answer to, but you need to know the answer to, and you think about it for a while, and the whole thing may shift because I really need to do that, and that's critical for a writer.
Absolutely. And I think that's why one of the most valuable things we can bring to feedback is curiosity.
Do you have any particular social media or marketing that you do personally? I know you use Mickey Mickelson with Creative Edge for your primary your stuff, but do you have something that you do on your own?
Yeah, I stay on Instagram, and that's where I discover most new writers now. For a long time, writers seemed to hang out on Twitter when it was Twitter, and that's what I did. And it was lovely that you could just link to an article and then click on it and read someone's work and, discover the next book you wanted to read. So Instagram, I miss that feature, but it does seem to be where writers have migrated. And I use Facebook as well, some now too. For a long time, I wasn't active on Facebook, but I think there's maybe a different demographic of people there that I was missing out on.
Did you start marketing when you started writing your book, or did you start marketing after the book was literally published?
I started thinking about marketing consciously when I signed with Mickey, which was maybe 5 months before the book came out.
Okay. And do you have any audiobooks on what you have?
I don't know.
Is that a plan?
It's a consideration. I would love to read out loud. Like I really enjoy doing readings. Yeah, there's just something about hearing the words out loud, hearing your character's voice iterated that I really enjoy.
Okay. Well, before when we were backstage, you said maybe we'll have an opportunity to have you read a paragraph from your book. So maybe this is a perfect tie into that.
Yeah, I think that sounds lovely. This will be a section that I actually read at the launch of the book here in Calgary. There's a moment in your life, if trauma hasn't already come along and plastered shit over everything, when it's all new. Love, the apartment, your commute, buying groceries and paying rent. It's all precious and delicate, wrapped in tissue paper like a bra from Victoria's Secret. It's that moment before you cut the tags off and commit to the underwire, the padding and the lace that leaves a pattern on your skin. And maybe that's new for a while too, say 3 washings. And then you notice that love has funky toenails and makes a shitty roommate. The apartment is the size of a bathroom stall. Your commute is a slow march towards death, culminating with your arrival in hell, where you spend eternity waiting in the wrong queue at Safeway, and every day is the first day of the month.
Thank you. Definitely picked up the ability to see things and through the words that you're using. The cover of your book, why don't you hold it up? Let's talk about the cover very briefly. Where did that get done?
So my publisher had David Morato is the name of the graphic designer he contracted for the cover. And I was really astonished by the amount of say I got to have in it. As a first-time writer, you don't necessarily know what to expect. But one of the beautiful things about being with the small press is sometimes you do get more say in these things. So I thought I would get to nod in approval when they showed me the cover they wanted for the book. And instead, I got to have an hour-long phone conversation with the designer about what we could do. And I was not expecting that at all.
Wow, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
The book cover, the audio potential, do you have any thoughts about putting it into a foreign language?
Wow. That would be fabulous. And actually, having grown up in Quebec, I wouldn't be reaching far. I would just love to see it come out in French.
Okay, well, that was kind of the way I was going to ask the next question, but you jumped ahead of me, so no problem there. You have a beautiful smile, by the way. Just point that out to let you know. And for our audio audience that they are missing it. But anyway, the awards that you win, is that something that your publicist put you up for? Or is that something you decided you wanted to go for? Tell us a little bit about that story of getting the awards.
Okay, so the Lieutenant Governor of Alberta Emerging Artist Award is something that actually happened after the book was signed with my publisher, but before it came out. So at that point in life, I didn't even know Mickey. It was something that I just heard about through the Writers Guild of Alberta. And I thought, you know what? Give it a shot. And I didn't think I stood a chance in heck at getting it, but I thought it would be really good practice at writing an artist statement, polishing my writer's CV, and getting my proposal out there, just getting practice, whether I wanted to secure a grant or a writer's residency in the future. I figured these are skills you're going to need, and why not start practicing now? So when I learned that I received that award, and that was funny, I got a phone call, and you don't get phone calls for anything anymore. It was very unexpected. It was delightful. And yeah, just one of those things that probably is once in a lifetime, and I will forever be grateful for the people who made that possible. And then the award for the book, the bronze in the Global Book Awards, was something that Mickey made me aware of. That was not on my radar at all. And he encouraged me to enter that. And I'm so glad that I did, because it's not something that I would have been aware of otherwise. And maybe even something I would have had the confidence to do without his encouragement.
Okay. Do you use any video trailers for marketing your books?
I haven't. Are they still popular? Like, I hear different things, right? It's my first rodeo.
Okay. The AI that you don't use uses that super easily. Let's say you have a 35-second commercial about your book that you write. I usually write it and then I tell my AI, clean it up, and then I come back and I tweak it again because I want to make sure it's 35 or 55 seconds. And then I turn it into whatever program I'm using, and it pulls images, and it'll have the text at the bottom and whatever background music if appropriate, etc. And that gives me an MP4 video file that I can now place anywhere I want, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. And if you accompany that with one of the comments having your website or the place where they can buy the book, now you're showing them generally 30-second, 60-second video, which is fairly popular, yes. But it hones in on, for me, I can show the value of a particular aspect of whatever I do. But in your case, you're trying to get interest in your character, your book, the plot, the drama, whatever that may happen to be. I'm thinking it would be just as easy for fiction to do that. And maybe even if you had several of them, that, this one was the first part of the book, and then part of that problem's been I mean, there's a lot of different ways I would think that you could, but that might be something to talk to Mickey about.
That actually sounds like a lot of fun, and I'm sure AI would streamline the process, but I would very much like to make it an involved, people-oriented endeavor.
Now, the easiest thing is I want 35 seconds. AI gives it to you in less than a half a second. And boom, it's there.
Yeah.
And so now you tweak that, and it may be 40 seconds, it may be a little, but you're tweaking something. I don't like that word. No, that needs to get rid of that sentence. It gives you a start, but it also has the flow that you need because you define that in the prompt that you gave it to begin with. And so that's important that you know how to talk to the AI. And that's probably the most crucial thing that would come up. I need a 35-second video. This is my audience. This is what my book's about. This is what I want. This is the value I want to tell the world about. And so you get all those things into a one-page prompt, and then boom, you turn it loose on AI. I don't like that. Write it again. No, write it again. And you get something back each time. And so that, I think, might be an opportunity to use AI as a marketing tool and not necessarily as a literary tool. Just a thought.
Yeah. Although I would be jealous of what the AI gets to do, because my jam is to condense words. So the prospect of writing to 35 seconds is thrilling to me.
Yeah. Again, it's a tool, just like spell checker.
Yep.
That's all it is a tool. How do people buy your books? How do they get in touch with you?
All right. So if you are in the States, you can find The Beauty and the Hell of It and other stories at Amazon.com or at Barnes & Noble. If you're up here in Canada, you can find it at Amazon.ca, at your local independent, or Chapters in Indigo. And you can find my website with links to some online stories that are featured in the book at www.lindawilliams.ca. And I'm also on Instagram at LyndaWilliams_author.
How often do you update your Instagram? Is that a daily thing or weekly or what?
Well, it's not a daily thing. I'm supposed to be doing it weekly. And honestly, I am hit or miss. Sometimes you hear from me a few days in a row and then I disappear for a week.
So now we have something else to master.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the literary challenge to keep not only the writing and conciseness and everything, but the timeliness of it too, because that's just as important, particularly when you have a product that's out there that people need to know about if they're going to buy it and make you rich.
Absolutely.
Well, Lynda Williams, Lynda Williams, WILLIAMS.ca. So that's her website. For our audio audience, again, Lynda, Lynda Williams, WILLIAMS.ca. But you can find her books there and also at Amazon.com. So, Lynda, thank you so very much for joining me today. I appreciate the effort that you took to do that. So, again, I want to compliment you on being a very, very successful, award-winning author just for your first book out the gate, your first rodeo, as you mentioned.
It was such a pleasure to chat with you. Thanks for having me.
I look forward to our next one. Take care, Lynda. We'll catch you later on. Red Laughlin here. We're concluding my first show today on the USA Global TV and Radio Network called the Corner Bookstore. My next show starts in just a little under a minute. It's called The Wise Ones. And my guest today is Chris Severs. He's a friend of mine from a local networking group. And he is I'm going to say a change artist of sort, because he works with people to help them achieve their dreams. So he helps them identify that. But as you're watching the show, we'll get into the details. My final show today, to an hour and 30 seconds, hour and 20 seconds, 80 minutes from now, is called Talking Heads. And it's a show that I put on every week. I have a chance to talk to you about a topic that I like. My topic this week is called The Real Driver of Aging, Damage versus Repair. And that boils down to the fact that 24/7, our bodies are being attacked all over the place, every place in our body. Our bodies are resilient enough to repair all the damage. But what happens when you get older? So I am going to conclude today's show, and please join me again in 20 minutes if you can on the next one. If not, go to YouTube on USA Global TV and find the archives. Take care, y'all. Bye now.
Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? In a world quick to judge, one book dares to reveal the hidden cost of silence. Discover Holy but Harmful, The Silent Sin of Judgment, How Hidden Judgments Destroy Relationships and Damage Lives by Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. The Amazon #1 bestseller that's transforming the way we understand ourselves and the way we see others. Pick up the companion workbook to uncover your own hidden judgments and learn how to break free from them. Available now on Amazon and at fine bookstores worldwide.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.